Okay, I think we're ready to go. Welcome to the webinar news conference, Alcohol Marketing in the Digital Age. My name is Lori Dorfman. I'm Director of Berkeley Media Studies Group, a project of the Public Health Institute. We want to welcome you to the news conference today. Good morning if you're on the West Coast. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. On your screen, you see a number for technical assistance, 1-866-229-3239. Please call that if you have any problems. And please have your speakers turned on. We are going to present some information to you from a report that we released today, and we're going to hold questions and answers from reporters at the end. So please make notes of your questions. You can also type in your questions if you like, and we will call on you at the end of when we get to the Q&A portion of our news conference. The people who will be speaking are Jeff Chester from the Center for Digital Democracy, Catherine Montgomery from American University. I'm the one who's facilitating this news conference. The three of us are the authors of the report. Respondents will be David Jernigan from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health and the Center on Alcohol Marketing and Youth, and George Askew. Dr. Askew is the Deputy CEO of Voices for America's Children based in Washington, D.C. So you see the contact information and numbers up there. We will also show those again later in the news conference, along with where you can download the report. Before we begin, I would like to thank the funder, the report sponsor, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Substance Abuse Policy Research Program, which supported the work that went into the development of the report. And I'd like to introduce again our authors. Jeff Chester, the primary author of the report from the Center for Digital Democracy, Catherine Montgomery from American University, and that's me, Lori Dorfman from Berkeley Media Studies Group. And once Catherine and Jeff have presented the findings from our report, then we will hear from our two respondents, David Jernigan from the Center on Alcohol Marketing and Youth, which is based at the Bloomberg School of Public Health at Johns Hopkins University, and Dr. George Askew, who is the Deputy CEO of Voices for America's Children based in Washington, D.C. Each of them will have just some brief comments and their reactions to the report. So after we discuss the findings, we'll hear those responses, and then we'll have questions and answers, questions from reporters and answers from panelists. And you can download the report from the URL that you see there, www.digitalads.org/alcohol.php. So at this point, I am going to turn the speaker over to Jeff Chester and Catherine Montgomery, who are going to lead us through the findings of the report discussing the digital marketing alcohol companies are using, and we will show you a couple of very brief snippets from videos. So be sure you have your speakers turned on so that you can hear that when it happens. And so I would like to ask Jeff and Kathy to take it away.
Well, thanks, Lori, and thanks to the Berkeley Media Studies Group and Robert Wood Johnson and everyone. I'm just going to quickly tell you what we did. What we did was to examine the online marketing campaigns, current and recent, from the major alcohol companies operating in the United States. Our research included examining the work done not just by the companies themselves, but by the ad agencies they hired, and all of them have specialized digital agencies. We also investigated the social media marketing technology service providers that many of these alcohol companies are using, as you know, from either reading the report and from our discussion today. The alcohol industry are using these very advanced social media marketing tools. And we also examined the kind of research that alcohol advertisers are engaged in the digital sphere. We also examined contemporary online alcohol campaigns in the United Kingdom.
Jeff,
Yes.
I wonder if you could just speak a little louder.
Yes, thank you. We also examined contemporary digital advertising campaigns of alcohol products in the United Kingdom, where targeting can begin when a person is 18. And this, of course, is part of our overall work at the Center for Digital Democracy on online marketing, including the work that we've done with Lori's organization on food and beverage marketing, targeting youth online, our recent work on online pharmaceuticals and health issues, now being reviewed by the FDA, and my organization's overall work in providing the Federal Trade Commission, the Congress, and other policymakers with information about how the online marketing system works and its implications to consumer protection and privacy. And now I'll turn it over to Catherine.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. And what we want to talk about today, and one of the reasons we did this report, is to document what's going on in what the industry calls a digital marketing ecosystem that's really transforming the nature of advertising. We now are looking at advertising that's not confined to 30-second commercials, but it's rather immersive in 24/7 environments across an expanding number of digital platforms and applications. The important thing is that youth are at the center of this exploding digital media culture, and as we know, many of them are living their lives online, on social networks and on their mobile phones. Most of the practices and many of the platforms that we've identified in this report are used by other companies specifically to target children and adolescents. This report did not assess whether or not youth could access alcohol marketing, which is a difficult thing to do. It was beyond the scope of our research. But what we did want to do was identify what the contemporary practices are in an environment that is very much one where youth do participate and where they are living. And it's really a call to action for federal and state regulators and self-regulatory agencies to investigate further what's going on with digital marketing and youth, especially given the crisis in underage drinking, problems with binge drinking at high schools and colleges. We need to find out, do the mechanisms that have been set up to protect youth from alcohol marketing work effectively in this digital marketing environment? We're going to begin by focusing on three key features of digital marketing: engagement, data collection, and the 360-degree strategy, which are characteristic. They're really emblematic of where digital advertising is going. And as we said, we're going to give you some examples of those, show you some illustrations. Then we'll talk about some of the platforms. So we can go to the next slide, which is the first core principle of digital marketing. And that is that marketing in the digital age is not intended just to reach consumers, but rather to engage them and to encourage individual consumers to internalize the brand into their own individual identities. And there are a number of different strategies that marketers are using to do this, including creating an environment where consumers become friends with the brand. They integrate it into their personal and social relationships. They create the brand advertisements, etc. And neuromarketing, which is the term the industry uses for using neuroscience in the marketing environment, is being used to create advertising and to measure subconscious responses to marketing. And now we can move to the next slide, and Jeff will take the next one.
Well, we're seeing a slide here from Miller Coors project Cold, and we use it to sort of show you how engagement is being implemented by the alcohol companies. Now Miller Coors developed this site. It was designed to deliver a, quote, advertising experience, unquote, in their own terms, using, quote, 3D functionality and video. And this is for their launch of the Coors Light cold activated can. Consumers can see mountains turn blue by virtually playing with a 3D image of a Coors Light can. The site offers surprises, and it was designed to encourage user participation, including soliciting votes for various techniques and for sharing videos online, especially YouTube. And what's, I think, interesting before we see it is that users were spending 3 minutes playing with these videos, which is another example of how it's different from traditional forms of 30-second or 60-second ads. These are longer form ads. So we should run the
You'll hear some sound here in just a second.
Thanks. And now we can go to the next slide, please. I think for me, one of the most disturbing aspects and most serious issues around interactive advertising from the alcohol industry is the core integration of a data collection on the sites themselves, run by the companies, on their social media sites, and through other techniques. Tremendous. I'm sure you're all aware that in the United States, the Federal Trade Commission, the Congress, and the EU, we all are looking now, and privacy and consumer groups are calling for policies to protect consumer privacy online. This is all about data collection for personalized, targeted marketing in order to better understand a user's attitudes, their interests, their online behaviors. Much of the data collection is covert. Users have no idea what's happening to the data, whether outside databases are being incorporated into the online databases, and they certainly have no idea, and that's why we're showing this here on the Red Stag site. They certainly have no idea about the range of data that's being collected by social networks, especially Facebook. And I know you're all aware of the current controversy around Facebook's recent changes to its privacy policy, where it's collecting much more data and is able to harness much more data. And data collection is a persistent theme in all of the online alcohol marketing.
Jeff, we're kind of losing you there. So
data collection is one of the most consistent themes in online alcohol marketing today. So we do the next slide.
There you go.
Catherine?
I'll talk about this one. Another key feature of digital marketing is this idea of the 360-degree strategy, and this is really about the fact that advertising is now coming to people in various forms across a multiplicity of platforms throughout the day and night. That includes online, that includes offline, it includes mobile, digital music, video, a whole range of different ways that consumers interact with new digital marketing. And the marketers, including alcohol marketers, are designing their campaigns so that they reach people across all of these platforms and throughout their daily lives. On a continual basis. And Jeff can talk about this particular Heineken campaign.
This virtual world, Heineken City, that Heineken created is a good example of the 360-degree strategy on a single site where through a variety of applications, whether it's offering users free email, giving them access to music downloads, online videos, other applications, a wide array of techniques are deployed to ensure that the brand message is fully absorbed by the consumer. Should we run the video here?
Sure. Here we go.
I should say that this is a part of the site. It's a virtual world, and in fact, what was so intriguing here was that the campaign first began where people actually saw real live print and other kind of promotion for a new housing development. Well, it turned out it was an online environment called Heineken City, where the size of your apartment is determined in part by how much time you spend on the site. And it really, I think, is very emblematic of where alcohol marketing is moving. And one of the things I think is also important is that alcohol marketers are really in the forefront of using all these digital marketing tools in the United States and all around the world. And the creation of this kind of personalized virtual world, I think, is a good example. Should we do the next?
And Jeff, get closer to that microphone.
Okay, now we're going to talk about 4 of the major distribution platforms and show you some examples of how alcohol marketing is being promoted on these. So we can go to the next slide. And as we were saying, if we compare marketing in the digital environment to traditional advertising, as most people know it, it is it is not limited. There are boundaries that have dissolved. So it's not limited by time or space in many ways. And I think social media are a good example of the kind of limitless nature of contemporary digital marketing. We know that they are one of the fastest growing platforms. They are particularly popular with youth. The Pew Internet and American Life Project did a recent study showing that almost 3/4 of 7th to 12th graders say they have a profile on a social networking site where they spend an average of 22 minutes a day, and that's an average. We know some kids spend a lot more time. And social networks have ushered in an entire new way of marketing, and the term is social media marketing. It's based really on one's social relationships, what the industry calls the social graph. And marketing is designed to tap into and penetrate those social relationships. Marketers have employed a number of new specialized companies that really engage in surveillance of not only individuals, but of individuals' relationships with others, looking for the influencers who can then promote brands among their circle of friends. And we'll move to Jeff, and he'll talk about how this works.
Well, as we said, we looked at the alcohol beverage companies here in the United States, and many of them have engaged the services of social media marketing experts to help create the applications, to do the kind of analysis, tracking, and assessment of brand conversations, companies that are able to identify, as Catherine mentioned, who the key influencers are. So there's a whole stealth world of marketing that occurs in the social media space. And the alcohol companies, as you can see here, are fully enjoined with it. Now, frankly, it's a completely Wild West environment, social media. And I sort of reiterate the current controversies over Facebook and the fact that it's now being investigated at the EU and is likely being investigated here in the United States by the Federal Trade Commission raises questions about the role that social media marketing plays in the alcohol product space, and frankly, whether or not what some of the social media companies claim are effective safeguards are really meaningful, because the way social media works is that you can tap in to an individual user and have them, in essence, communicate that brand message to all their friends, bypassing other kinds of safeguards.
You ready for the next slide?
We should do the next slide, sorry.
With the popularity of YouTube and other online video sharing services, online video has become incredibly popular among many people, including youth, who love to watch video, create video, and share videos. In many ways, it's the new public square. Marketers have seized upon the capabilities of online video and have created brand channels and all kinds of other video marketing strategies. And I think also, like a lot of the other aspects of digital marketing, online video illustrates how digital marketing is able to circumvent traditional limits on television and what we're familiar with in other media. It also makes possible user-generated advertising, or what the industry sometimes calls co-created advertising, very inexpensive, and enables the user, encourages the user to create the ad and then to distribute the ad among his or her friends, and often that can create a viral video with unlimited exposures. And Jeff can talk about this current campaign.
We could have picked a number of things to show you, but this is one of the most famous ones. in contemporary alcohol marketing online. It was the viral video hit from Smirnoff promoting their alcoholic iced tea drink. It went viral, and it was designed with a so-called viral strategy. It was put up on video sharing sites, and it was viewed 600,000 times in just 10 days. And as of last fall, it had gotten over 5 million views. So this is another area where it's a kind of Wild West. You put an online video there. You know people are going to access it. You may be seeding to encourage people having access to it. And certainly in many places, alcohol companies are creating what's known as branded channels, working with YouTube and other online video companies to specifically design online video strategies. So let's just get a quick sense of what this was like. So we should do the next slide, please. And one of the most recent platforms is clearly mobile devices. And mobile devices are becoming ubiquitous. They're becoming really the kind of central nervous system for the online culture. The business model for mobile devices is to combine all the data that one is able to collect about what you do online and the kinds of sites you view, but also then add location, where you actually are, for real-time targeting. And mobile devices are also becoming what they call digital out-of-home advertising vehicles. So here in this slide, you'll see it's a new Miller Coors brand, and they have a special label that helps trigger a camera in a cell phone that can then generate a variety. It could generate a coupon, or it could give you access to the website, et cetera. The bottles themselves then become interactive marketing experiences with special codes printed on them. Should we show the next slide, please? And as I said, these are banner ads. You click on the banner ad, you can go to the specially designed mobile sites. Now, mobile marketing requires specialized safeguards, and we'll discuss that at the end of the press conference, because you can imagine that a user has to navigate their way around a traditional website. But here, all the rich array of features we talked about previously, the rich media, online video, the data collection, the virtual experience, all of that has been ported into this very small, powerful, personalized mobile device that's always with you, and where people can track your every move, and where already alcohol companies are offering mobile coupons that can be instantaneously used to get the discounts on drinks, etc. Next slide. Catherine?
The immersive nature of digital media is another important aspect of it that makes it quite different from traditional media. With multimedia technologies, with augmented reality, with virtual environments, individuals can actually be in the experience in ways that they've never been able to be before. And this goes across video games and a lot of other applications online in the digital environment, including in mobile, that make it possible to really feel like you are experiencing the media experience in ways that we've not seen in the past. And Jeff can talk again about this specific campaign.
Well, the alcohol industry has also been in the forefront of using this rich media technology. In fact, few industries have leveraged the tool to integrate themselves with these technology, according to industry executives. And they're able to understand and track how the interactions occur using this kind of technology. And they're designed, as Catherine said, purposely to be immersive. That's the industry's own term, to, once again, capture a user's involvement. So let's just take a look at this particular example. So you get to play with it. They're attractive. They're fun. And then, of course, it also has the added feature of data collection, which is actually part of the rich media strategy. It's to encourage you to participate with the ad, and then they're tracking you covertly by looking at the clicks and where you click on the banner and how you play with your mouse, for example, on it, and also oftentimes collecting data itself. Catherine? That's me. I apologize. Target marketing, one of the, I think, most serious issues from our research is the specific targeting of African Americans and Hispanics, particularly from alcohol marketing companies. Like other advertisers, the alcohol companies know that youth of color, teens of color especially, are in the forefront of using many of these new media technologies, especially social networks and mobile marketing. So they've created specialized digital campaigns to target multicultural youth. And here's just one example. We should play the video, please.
Jeff, there's not video with this one.
Oh, there's no video. I apologize. I wish people could see the video. We can give them the video then.
Yeah, we can certainly send it to people. So I'm
next slide then.
To the conclusions.
The next one is for me, and I was just going to say Jeff could have performed that one, but we won't ask him to do that. This has been a brief overview. The report has many more examples, and we've also, as Jeff mentioned earlier, written about digital marketing of other product categories, and a lot of that work can be found on digitalads.org or on the Center for Digital Democracy's website, democraticmedia.org. I want to point out before we talk about the issues here that we've raised that we believe that digital media are really vitally important in today's culture, and I think particularly for youth. We know that young people are fully engaged online. They're using digital media for learning, for civic engagement and participation. It's a very, very important venue for their social relationships, and it taps into their fundamental developmental tasks. So it's very important. And we are not calling for any kind of censorship. Jeff and I, particularly as co-authors of the report, feel very strongly about this, but we do think this is a very serious issue. And it does require attention by regulators and public health professionals. And there definitely is a role for government here, as well as industry, to institute fair marketing practices. This is what we did when we got Congress to enact the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. There are clearly important health implications here, as we mentioned earlier, with the kind of binge drinking that young people are engaged in. Colleges are very concerned about it. High schools are as well. And the question is, what kind of culture is being created by this online marketing? We also want to draw your attention to an excerpt in the appendix of our report by several researchers at the University of California, Irvine, who've been looking at recent research on adolescent brain development, which shows that young people, not until they're into their 20s, have fully developed capacity, really, to process cognitively, to process in responsible ways responses to digital marketing, and particularly new forms of marketing. Obviously, there are a number of questions we will talk about in a few minutes about self-regulation and regulation, and then the limits of age verification, which has been one of the key self-regulatory mechanisms. As you can see here by this little slide, it's very easy for any young person of any age to do the math and figure out how to enter a birth date that will make you look as if you're older than 21. So these are issues that really do need to be talked about. Jeff, you can do the next one.
Should we do the next slide? Well, we have a number of recommendations in the report, and today we sent to Chairman Leibowitz, the other commissioners of the Federal Trade Commission, the Director of Consumer Protection, the key privacy staff, and the key staff who are looking at alcohol marketing today, and as well as the Attorney General, State Attorney Generals, and NAG. Today we sent them a letter and our report requesting that they open up an investigation into the interactive marketing practices of the alcohol industry and to have a special focus on how it impacts underage youth. And all of the issues that you see here on the screen, we're asking the FTC to examine. But I want to particularly point out the first two. The Federal Trade Commission is currently in the process of a broad range of initiatives looking at online advertising, data collection, online profiling, and privacy. They also, I believe, are looking at neuromarketing or related techniques. We want the FTC to expand its inquiry, to incorporate the role that alcohol marketing plays, and also engage in a separate focused effort around alcohol marketing. We want the FTC to look at the expenditures spent by the alcohol industry for digital marketing. We want them in particular to look at whether or not underage youth are being exposed to those ads. The preliminary research that we did shows that while the companies claim that the sites are attracting basically age appropriate consumers, that indeed many underage consumers are also going to those sites. So just as the Federal Trade Commission is now examining and will examine again for 2009 expenditures, food marketing expenditures, including for online advertising of food and beverage products, we want them to do the same for alcohol marketing. The next slide, please.
There it
comes. And we also want the industry to begin re-examining its self-regulatory codes to incorporate the concerns we've raised around interactive and digital advertising, and certainly all the data collection. And we hope we expect the FTC to help them. I mean, one of the questions that has to be asked, for example, is whether or not any of the alcohol companies or their advertising agencies are engaged in the new practice of online ad exchange auctions, where they're able to buy an individual user in real time in milliseconds and then target them with ads, or bring offline databases into online targeting efforts. There's a whole range of activities that are shaping the contemporary digital advertising marketplace, and both the industry and the Federal Trade Commission and the state attorney generals need to understand the extent of which the alcohol companies are using these techniques and what the implications are, especially to underage youth. And we want each company to publish annual transparency reports, as you can see, about what they're doing online, who their suppliers are, what the technology is designed to do, what kind of database marketing, data mining, et cetera, they do, and then to observe this 15% audience minimum standard. Next slide, please. Is that it?
I think that's it, Jeff, and I want to thank you and Catherine both for that nice overview of the report. We'll put the URL up again for those of you who want to download it from digitalads.org/alcohol.php. And now I'm going to invite David Jernigan from the Bloomberg School of Public Health at Johns Hopkins University, who directs the Center on Alcohol Marketing and Youth, to give us his reactions to the report. He's been following this issue a long time, and I'm eager to hear his thoughts. After that, we'll hear from Dr. Askew, and then we will open the news conference to questions. Go ahead, David.
Thanks so much for the opportunity to comment on this important report. There are now at least 13 peer-reviewed longitudinal studies of the relationship between exposure to alcohol marketing and youth drinking behavior. And these studies have all found that the more youth are exposed to alcohol marketing in a wide range of forms and formats, the more likely they are to drink. With close to 5,000 young people under 21 dying as a result of alcohol use every year, there's a strong public health interest in preventing and reducing underage drinking. Our studies at the Center on Alcohol Marketing and Youth have consistently found that young people are being exposed to more alcohol advertising per capita than adults 21 and over in magazines and on television and radio. We've found that the industry's efforts at self-regulation have done little to reduce this overexposure of young people. When we looked at Internet marketing back in 2003, we found close to 700,000 in-depth visits over a 6-month period. That is, visits that got beyond the industry's so-called age verification screen to 55 alcohol company websites. This important new study from the Center for Digital Democracy and Berkeley Media Studies Group shines a bright light on what the alcohol companies are now doing in the largely unmeasured world of the Internet and digital marketing. As was the case with tobacco marketing, the study finds no smoking guns to prove that the alcohol companies are targeting our children. These only showed up when tobacco companies were forced to release their internal marketing documents. What the study does show is that alcohol companies are using sophisticated neuromarketing and other techniques to foster engagement with and loyalty to their brands. It finds them everywhere, in online videos, social networking sites, virtual worlds, mobile networks, places where young people spend increasing amounts of their time far from the understanding or supervision of their parents. It also shows that they continue to ignore calls by state attorneys general and others to strengthen their very weak age verification mechanism. In 2007, alcohol companies had more than 300 conversations with our young people on how great it is to drink on television alone. In its advertising, as in the digital realm, the alcohol companies' virtual worlds show all of the appeal and none of the consequences of alcohol use. They undercut the efforts of parents, teachers, and policymakers to reduce youth access to alcohol. The study's authors are calling on the Federal Trade Commission and state attorneys general to step up their efforts to monitor and police the alcohol companies' activities in the digital world. At this point, alcohol companies appear limited only by their imaginations and their pocketbooks. We can do more to protect our children from exposure to appeals to use the product that is their number one drug of abuse. We need the industry required to be transparent about their activities in digital media. We need more effective age verification, and technologies are available for this. And we need greater responsibility and restraint from the alcohol companies themselves. Parents, as well as our children, deserve better than the industry's ineffective efforts at self-regulation. Thanks so much.
David, thank you very much for sharing those comments and sharing your thoughts on the report. And George, I'd like to ask you now to join us. And this is Dr. Askew. He is Deputy CEO for Voices for America's Children based in Washington, D.C. And I'd like you to give us your thoughts on the report.
Great. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and I'm honored to be asked to weigh in on this important issue for our youth. I'm George Askew, Deputy CEO of Voices for America's Children. Voices is the nation's largest network of child advocacy organizations with more than 60 member groups across the country. I'm also a board-certified pediatrician who continues to practice medicine part-time and the parent of 2 teenagers. As a children's doctor, I derive great pleasure from improving children's health and well-being one child at a time. However, I devote the vast majority of my professional time outside of clinical practice walls as a child advocate. In this role, I can help millions of children at once through public awareness and government action. And if there's one child health problem that needs our collective efforts as advocates to raise awareness and spur government action, it is alcohol abuse. Alcohol is the most widely used substance of abuse among America's youth, more than cigarettes or marijuana. About 5,000 young people die each year from underage drinking incidents, including 1,900 on the road, 1,600 from violence, and at least 300 from suicide. It also increases the risk of physical and sexual assault, injury, and contracting sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV. Excessive alcohol use harms people from all walks of life and age ranges, but children are particularly susceptible. Youngsters are drawn to risk-taking and very sensitive to the effects of alcohol. We all know this. But they are also susceptible to the allure of alcohol. A feeling of identity and belonging is universally important to people of this age. Identity and belonging are also the touchstones of alcohol advertising, which fills screens, from TVs to mobile phones, with images of conspicuously dressed, fun-loving cliques of young people. Alcohol advertisers have always sought to create an alternative reality for their products. With the advent of online social spaces, they literally have created these alternative realities full of color and far from parental supervision. Utilizing Facebook, web forums, and the techniques of online social games, these advertisers are in places that children already are or typically seek out. Most of these sites make only token efforts to discourage youth from joining. Into your year of birth, an intro page will typically say. This is at best a disingenuous effort by webmasters who know that anyone underage will almost certainly lie. Who wouldn't, when their interest is piqued, push forward? certainly not most young people, who are often at their lifetime peak of risk-taking, curiosity, and eagerness to be seen as mature. That's why I was surprised by this study, both as a child advocate and a children's doctor. It details the elaborate worlds advertisers create with their expanded digital toolset. The result is often more immersive alcohol advertising that is more accessible to underage youth than ever. And with this medium's ability to target market, it has the potential to engage youth more emotionally at a time in their lives when emotions rule and self-control is not fully developed. A huge body of scientific data shows us that adolescence is a time of huge structural and functional changes in the brain. Judging risks and benefits requires an extraordinary dependency of multiple brain structures, the circuitry of which grows well into the third decade of life. The normal emotional instability that comes with the development of mature brain pathways makes mistakes in judgment all the more likely. The bottom line is that advertising of the immersive, personal, and emotional sort one finds online can have a dangerous level of influence on our young. When the product being advertised is uniquely dangerous and illegal, for youth, we have a clear call to action. Read the report and consider its recommendations. It's time the Federal Trade Commission used its power to investigate these new market techniques and, if necessary, regulate to better protect the young from alcohol advertising. Thank you.
Thanks very much to both our respondents and to our report authors. And on the screen before you now, you have everybody's contact information as well as the URL to download the report. And if anybody has a question for any of the panelists, you can click the little hand that you see at the bottom of your screen, and that will allow us to unmute you. Jeff, and you could also type in a question.
Which is generally sort of fixed at about 8%, tends to vary based on the underlying credit quality of the actual assets that you have in the portfolio.
We've just taken the mute off of everyone. So if you have a question at this point, you could just speak up, but we would ask that you identify yourself. Is there? Do I have a question? Greg, there I see. Can you go ahead and ask your question?
Can I ask my question?
You can. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You're talking about age verification technology.
Greg, pardon me. Can you identify yourself? Say where you're from.
Sure. Greg Piper, Washington Internet Daily. I'm curious to hear from you guys what kinds of age verification technologies you'd like these sites to implement, because one of the most common things that we hear, especially from social networking companies, is that there's no silver bullet way to know somebody's age because they don't typically have any kind of identification on them. They would be unique. That there's no database they could check to ensure that somebody underage is not getting on there, and so they have to kind of make educated guesses about it.
Okay.
Yes, the place that this is David Jernigan, the place that's been explored is on the alcohol industry's own websites, and the 23 state attorneys general looked at this issue, did a lot of research, and they are asking for things like that the sites require a full name exactly as it appears on a government-issued ID and full address, or driver's license, some other kind of governmental information, so that it can be checked against databases. There are also the technology's out there for instance, a webmaster to ask challenge questions, to do verification before people are allowed on alcohol sites. The point is there are lots of different ways, at least for the industry's own sites, for stricter age verification to be used. In terms of the social networking sites, it is a much less explored territory, and this is an area where we would hope to see a lot of restraint exercised by the companies themselves until technologies can be developed to ensure that the marketing messages that are used in these channels are not getting to lots and lots of young people.
Greg, this is Jeff Chester. I want to make it clear that CDD not. What Dr. Jernigan said, I think is very important. But CDD and Catherine Montgomery, we're not calling for this kind of age verification here. I think we're aware that it raises privacy issues too. But what's necessary, and what the Federal Trade Commission and the state AGs need to do, and the companies need to do, is the officials need to investigate what's going on, and the companies need to be honest, because to the extent that deliberate strategies are being deployed to target underage youth through social media advertising, for example, or through the promotion of online video, those kinds of practices simply should not be acceptable. And frankly, the use of techniques that are relied on by other interactive advertisers, such as the use of rich media and its immersive qualities, or the collection of and use of neuromarketing, and the mobile areas around location also raise strong concerns. Those require special safeguards as well. So the alcohol industry, helped and prodded by policymakers, need to shape these interactive marketing applications so they don't harm underage youth.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Greg, for your question. Anybody else? Can type in a question or raise your hand. And I'm not seeing any other questions, comments. I want to wait just a minute in case there's anybody else.
But journalists should feel free to give any of us a call after the press conference, and if they haven't downloaded the report, to read the report and then give us a call today, and we're happy to answer questions and put you in touch with other people who are involved in this report.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions? You can download the report at digitalads.org/alcohol.php. You can also see our news release there, and we will be posting the coverage of the report so far. If you have any questions for any of us, please don't hesitate to call us or email us at the contact information you see on the screen. Any other questions? Okay, I think that being the case, we can probably thank you all very much for your attendance. I'd like to thank Jeff Chester and Catherine Montgomery for their presentation, and David Jernigan and George Askew for responding to the report, reading it closely, and giving us their thoughts. And thank you all for listening in, and please do contact us if you want more information or have other questions after you've had a chance to look at the report. And I think with that, I'll say thanks very much, and we can sign off. Bye-bye, everybody.